There's really something to be said for being able to read this giant clock in the sky, but also have this map on how to work with the planets and the energies coming in. The sun sign is the tiniest piece of who you are. Have you ever been in a relationship with somebody with strong Cancer?
My ex-husband, absolutely not. I wouldn't be surprised if you looked at my chart and it was just empty because that's how my love life feels. Empty. If you're a Virgo, I'm not messing with it.
You might have the best sex of your life with a Virgo because you have Mars in Virgo.
What?
This is like the blueprint of your soul. This is the possibilities, the potentials you came in with. And if I can guide you back to that after life has had its way with you, it's almost the sense of coming back home.
Welcome back, everyone, to Diary of an Empath. My next guest is Malika Semper. She is a Deborah Silverman certified astrologer and intuitive counselor with a passion for astrology that began in her early teens. Malika has been helping clients uncover their highest potential since 2016. She was also my advisor when I did Deborah Silverman's course with her Astrology 1 course, and she's amazing.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to have her on the show. Malika, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Carice. And it's so nice seeing you again. The last time we saw each other, we were in the astrology classroom setting.
Yes. And I will say you're a phenomenal teacher. I went in with kind of like the basics and I still came out learning a lot that I'm like, I had no idea that you could use astrology in this way. And I would love to start out with understanding your mission and why did you get into the field of astrology? Because I feel like that's not something that everybody does. So take me back and help me understand who I'm looking at today.
Yes, story time. Okay, so we're going way back to my teenage years when I discovered astrology and I really became obsessed with it. And way back in the day, you could buy these little scrolls at the checkout stand, depending on your age, you might remember them, in grocery stores according to your astrological sign. So I would always beg my mom to buy me the Sagittarius scroll, and it literally was like this little paper that you could unravel and it just had your whole horoscope on there, and then I would buy some for my friends, for my closest girlfriends. And then I started self-studying astrology and just sort of gathering information. And then in my late 30s, I thought, I really want to do something more with this. Like for real. I really want to do something with this. So I found Deborah Silverman, who is my teacher and also yours.
She's awesome.
Yes. And I started taking her courses and it really gave me it gave me a container for all this information I had through self-study, And so that started like the career path for me for astrology, right? I took her class in 2016, her classes, and graduated. And then I started my own private practice, astrology practice, in 2017. And it's really, really changed my world, changed my life in so many ways. There's really something to be said for being able to read this giant clock in the sky, and sort of have this map back to the self, but also have this map on how to work with the planets and the energies coming in.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I have always kind of dabbled in psychic stuff and I've Scorpio in my South Node. I kind of came into this world with just like some natural psychic abilities, Neptune on the rising, all that good stuff. And when I started, astrology was always fascinating to me. But when I actually started learning it, especially when we did our training, I was so fascinated with how accurate it can just help me understand people and help me to understand why I am the way that I am. In fact, the woman that I just interviewed right before you, after we got done with our interview, she does these interesting things. She connects with galactic federations, like she channels them. She's been on Gaia and everything. It's so cool.
Wow, yeah.
Anyway, she was telling me how she was like this businesswoman and everything. I'm like, "Are you a Capricorn?" And she's like, "I am." Like I knew it,
Mhm.
and it has helped me even with my clients when I do therapy and other things. So let's just start with a brief overview of the basics. So when we hear about like Libras and Scorpios, but and I know there's more to it than that. So if we were to start with like the big 3, what does that mean?
Mhm. And as you were talking, I actually pulled your chart up your chart up on the screen so I could and as soon as I opened it up, I was like, "Ah, there she is. I remember this chart." So yeah, people often ask, "Tell me what is your big 3?" The big 3 are really the 3 main pillars, if you will, that make up a person. It's the sun sign, it's the moon sign, it's the rising sign, and the sun represents your character, your personality, while the moon is your private world. The moon is everything you are when you come home at the end of the day and you shut the front door behind you. Everything in that space is where your moon sign shows up, your emotions, your private world. And the rising sign is what the soul is rising towards, but it's also the mask and the first impression you give off to people before they know you. So I like to sort of paint the scenario where you're in the grocery store and you see somebody way across in the produce section and you don't know them, and your first hit, if I were to see you, Carice, in the produce section, I would say, "Oh my God, there's a Capricorn. She's a Capricorn," right? Because that's your rising sign. But then when I go and I shake your hand and I introduce myself to you, then I see your sun sign of Libra, right? And then when you invite me over for lunch, then I would see your moon sign, also Capricorn, right? That more personal Capricorn depth of you. So the rising sign is so delicious and so important and so soulful because it really is the very first impression you give off to the world. And I see that so strongly in you, like using your chart as an example. You do have this very strong, steadfast, earthy, grounded, delicious Capricorn essence that shines from you so
Ooh.
bright.
Okay, so if you didn't know me and you were just looking at my chart based off of the big 3, what would your assumptions be about me?
Ooh, I like that question. Okay, so I don't know you, and I'm looking at your chart. So the first thing that jumps out to me is that you are what's called triple cardinal, which is the boss, the leader, the initiator, the one who says it like it is. You have such a strong presence about you. The other thing is your sun is in this position in your chart that is linked to your career, your profession, how you're seen. Your sun, this warm light you shine out onto others, is linked to your reputation, your title, your status in what you do for work. So my first instinct would be like, "Oh my gosh, she's a powerhouse in her career, her profession, and people really know her because it's sort of like you have this main character energy. You're on stage with a very public placement. So you're in the public eye, right? And your strength and your vitality and your life force is so linked to your work, your profession, your career, that the public, knows what you do and the service you give to the world because your sun is up there, your vitality is shining on this placement in your chart. So I would open it up and I would be like, "Holy moly, she's a powerhouse. I wonder what she does for work. It's got to be so big and expansive and important to her. And I want to know this person." Yeah.
I love that. And what's interesting about that is when I hear people, especially it's Libra season, and all of these Libras on Instagram that I'm seeing is like, oh, we can start a fight if we want to. And I'm like, it really has helped me to understand that it's not just about your sun sign. What else is in your chart that's affecting,
Oh my gosh.
because there are Libras that can be super conflictual, right? But then you got someone like me who has a double Capricorn, and my double Capricorn is like, we can have fun sometimes, but sometimes I want to be at home and we want to make money, but we want to make money because we want to have a chill lifestyle, and sometimes just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Right. So how can they conflict? So if you have your sun, your moon, and your rising, are we just looking at the sun sign to define someone's personality, or can other things affect it?
Oh my gosh, so many other things. So the sun sign is the tiniest piece of who you are, right? In fact, using your chart as an example, you have stronger Capricorn than your sun sign. So if you just went through your life just knowing your sun sign, saying, I am a Libra, Capricorn is even stronger and Scorpio is even stronger than your Libra in your chart, you know? And so Capricorn and Scorpio, those archetype, those energies would probably make more sense to you than just reading about your Libra sun sign, because now we know as we go through the layers that there is this work before play sort of essence. Libra all by itself says, where's the party? Where are my friends? Where's the fun? Where are the people I could flirt with and be in relationship with? That is the teeniest, tiniest part of you. Even stronger is this part of you that says, we don't have time for the party. We need to work in the morning. We have to write out our goals, you know? And then there's this even deeper part of you with all this Scorpio that says, I go deep and I don't stay on the surface. Libra by itself loves to play on the surface, loves the light side of life. But when we look deeper, you love to go into the depths and even into the shadows a little bit and look to see what's under the bed and look into the way back of the closet, you know? So there's so many more layers. And if we only knew that you were a Libra, we would be like, okay, but so where does her work ethic come in? Because she's really strong in her goals and her tenacity to follow through and climb these mountains. And what about this deeper side to her, this more sensual side, which isn't necessarily Libra, right? And so we start to go through the layers and then we find the whole of you rather than the tip of the iceberg with just the sun sign.
It's so true. And for context, I mean, those of you that know me, but I can be very Libra in, like, if I'm at a party or I'm with my friends, that 8 hours, 6 hours that I'm there, total Libra, right? When I have to be charming and put the charm on, when I'm interviewing, things like that, total Libra. But my Scorpio comes out. Let's get to the deeper ends of the questions. My Capricorn loves to make money, but not because I need to be rich. It's because I love the art and the beauty that comes with having money, and that's my Libra. So let's talk about career. So my son is on the top of the chart. So for you, you were like, "Ooh, what do you do for your career?" For somebody who is wondering, how can I use my astrology chart to understand or point me in the right direction of my purpose, my career, because I have no fucking clue what I want to do or what I should be doing, but I know what I'm doing isn't working. Where would you start?
I would start at the very tippy top of the chart, which is essentially noon, if this were a clock we were looking at, right? That round circle. It's called the midheaven. And the midheaven will be in a specific sign. And that sign is the energetic with which you flow more at ease within the work you do. So, for example, your midheaven is in Libra. So that tells me that when you do any sort of Libran, and I'll give some examples, Libran type of work, that is where you're going to be in flow. That is where you're going to feel most natural. And that is where your gifts and talents will show up. So Libra is the people person. Libra is about connecting people. Libra is about hearing people's stories and their whys and what they do and where they came from. Libra is about interviewing people. You know, it really is this connection between souls. And Libra is the people person. And so looking at your chart, if I didn't know you, I would say, well, she does something that brings people together. She does something that sort of dives into the intellect and brings out people's words, people's stories. She would be really good also at counseling people, any sort of relationship stuff, right? Libra is the sign of relationship. She would be really good in her work at being a mediator because Libra sees both sides of the coin oftentimes. She would be really good at being like a marriage counselor, like things of that nature, right? Where you're bringing two people together and listening to their stories. So that's the first place I would look, the midheaven. And then my eye would go to Saturn because Saturn also tells us our bigger life purpose. Your Saturn is in Scorpio. And so this promise you came in to do is to go really deep and to go below the surface and to ask the harder questions and to not shy away from shadow work and the more shadowy aspects of this being human, like what we as humans have really gone through in our lifetimes, that the deeper content, sometimes the more scary content as this being human can bring in, our wounds, our fears, our old stories of I mean, take your pick, abandonment, jealousy, so on and so forth. And so you have this ability to go there. You have an ability, a higher purpose, to talk about what we don't normally talk about at the dinner table, and really go into the shadow side of things. And the highest purpose is for you to bring light to the dark, to bring light to the shadow with this placement. So when I combine the midheaven, what you could be doing for work, where the ease of flow comes, and your Saturn purpose, it really is talking to the people, Libra, about deeper content, Scorpio. We're not skimming the surface.
So if you didn't know me and I said, Malika, I'm thinking about being a therapist and maybe starting a podcast, based on that chart, would you say that's absolutely the right direction for you?
I would be jumping up and down screaming, yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
So we can see that, and we can
yeah,
look at the chart and see, at least like energetically, where it could be aligned.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. And then life happens and there's free will and people can veer off of their higher purpose or away from their higher purpose because of life circumstances, right? And what we deal with in life. And so the beauty of these natal charts is reminding people who they are, reminding them of their promise that they came in with, reminding them of their potential. And if they choose, they can come back to that, right? Because it is all a choice, it is all free will. But when I'm looking at these, this is like the blueprint of your soul. This is the possibilities, the potentials you came in with. And if I can guide you back to that after life has had its way with you, it's almost the sense of coming back home, of coming home to the self.
Love and relationships. So if somebody is saying, I would love to find a partner, or I'm not sure if I'm in the right relationship, how can astrology help with that? And where do they need to be looking?
Okay, Carice, this is my specialty. This is what gets me so excited. Um,
Perfect.
yes, there is such a thing as relationship astrology. And the name of this, the title of this is called Synastry. And you can put two charts together and it shows you how two people will affect one another. And, it'll show me if a relationship is more challenging or if a relationship has a lot of ease and gifts to it. Um, and so most people would think that they want that chart to be like easeful and full of gifts and good things. However, I love a challenging relationship chart because it keeps the two people awake to each other and doing the work. It gives just enough like tension and pokiness to show up to the relationship and to do what's being asked of themselves in the relationship. You know what I mean? If a relationship were so easy and they were just all these blue lines in the chart, blue lines being gifts of ease, how boring. These two would be like, they'd have nothing to talk about, no work to do, nothing to do. So I love some good red lines, which shows us the challenges, because it really creates that spark and it creates the want and desire to show up and do the work for each other.
Okay, so where does somebody look to see what kind of relationship might be coming towards them? Can we see that in a chart?
hmm Yeah. So the descendant in the chart, so if you were looking at that round circle, it would be at 3 o'clock. The descendant really shows us the type of person we call in to be in relationship with. Let me just look at yours. Yours is in Cancer. Have you ever been in relationship with somebody with strong Cancer?
You know, I would have to look at my ex-husband. Absolutely not. I haven't had the greatest relationships. I'm hoping it comes. I really do, because I wouldn't be surprised if you looked at my chart and it was just empty, because that's how my
Uh-huh.
love life feels.
Yes,
Empty.
yes. So we look at the descendant. I'm going to use your chart as an example. You have Cancer, the archetype of Cancer on the descendant. So that tells me.
Did you guys know that I'm not only a therapist, but I'm also a coach and a professional tarot reader? Now, it's not exactly me hovering over a crystal ball telling your future. It's a way to connect with your guides on life issues such as career and love and spirituality. And sometimes people need one-on-one coaching to help them through breakups, toxic relationships, healing the mother wound, their spiritual path, or navigating tools as an empath. So I do all of these things to help my clients pursue life and decisions and understand themselves. So if you are interested in one-on-one coaching or a tarot reading, click the link below to get started. Okay, back to the podcast.
Anytime you do this interdependent, interrelational dance with the Cancer type of person, you are going to be learning the most about yourself and relationship. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, anytime you attract a Cancer, but maybe they have strong Cancer, like their moon sign is a Cancer or their rising, one of those big three that we talked about. Or they have other strong Cancer signatures. For you, that particular archetype is really going to wake up your heart and bring in this feeling of, oh, this is an important relationship. It could also trigger the shit out of you, Cancer type people, because it's waking you up to know how to dance with them, hence how to do relationship then, and who you are in relationship and how you show up in relationship. So that's the main thing I look at when I'm looking at, like, is love coming in? Who am I attracting? And then the second thing is your moon sign, because the moon sign really shows us our emotional needs and our emotion and what we give emotionally as well. And yours is in Capricorn. And so you have a very strong emotional constitution, right? Capricorn is a very strong sign, solid sign. So what you would give in partnership with this moon in Capricorn is this idea of, I'm here, I'm solid, I'm stable, you can depend on me, you can lean in on me when you love someone, right? When you're willing to show up in that way. And once you commit and you have this desire to partner with them, they can lean in on you and you're not going to fall over. Like, you have this work ethic, moon in Capricorn, to show up when the going gets tough, if you're in love with them.
Right.
um, right. But you also require stability in return. You require somebody who is also goal oriented and goal minded and is doing something productive with their life. That's going to feel like you are in your emotional well-being when you are dancing with someone like that. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like loyalty, stability, all of that is really important to me. And I think a lot of lessons in the past, God knows I didn't have the best picking in men, but it's changed a lot as I've evolved. I would love to talk a little bit about progressed moon and how can that help us to understand our relationships, decisions that we're making about relationships and career and life choices. And what exactly is it? So, if I was a high schooler and I had no idea what this was, break it down to me as if I was in ninth grade.
Yes, super easy. The progressed moon is a cycle of life every 2.5 years or so. The cycle of life shifts a little bit, and you feel those shifts when they come in. Right now, you are in your Gemini progressed moon. So that means you are in a Gemini cycle of life, right? And so we take that archetype of Gemini, and it's almost like you are wearing, like, if you were to open up your shoe closet, there's 12 pairs of shoes. You have put on your Gemini shoes, and you're going to keep putting them on and walking in those Gemini shoes for 2.5 years. Okay. And so it flavors your world in this very Gemini-like perspective for you right now. And so talking about that, you are in this cycle of air and people everywhere. It's a more busy time of life because Gemini is very busy. We're concerned with meeting up with people, running our errands, going from point A to point B. life picks, do you feel the speediness of life right now?
Oh
Just
my
like,
God. All the time. I told my best friend, I'm like, when did life get this busy for me? And I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. It's just there's always stuff happening with my daughter. She's in high school now, work, podcasts, running a business. I left my federal job. I have all of these girlfriends now, and like we're always planning and doing different things. And I'm like, holy shit, can I just like, my Capricorn's like, slow down?
yes. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's not time for you to slow down yet. You still have 11 months left of this, right? And so it's in these next 11 months, it's really doing as much as you can, you know, and the cycle you're in is sometimes harder. Like for you, you do not have any Gemini planets in your chart, you know? So now you're going through this Gemini cycle. It can feel very foreign to you. It could feel like, what the heck is my life right now? Because it is so speedy and so quick. But we're also gathering a lot of information during our Gemini cycle. We are also, it's this idea of being the student and learning right now. And so you might be, you know, taking classes, taking courses, reading books, hearing other people's stories, learning from other people. And the pace does not slow down when we're in Gemini until we move on to the next quieter cycle. But you are in an extroverted cycle right now with this progressed moon. And it's so cool to see and to know, first of all, the cycle of life we are in, but also those closest to us. So, like your daughter, for instance, you know, knowing what her progressed moon is right now, so that you know how to best relate to her, speak to her, be with her during this time. Is she in a quieter cycle or is she in an extroverted cycle? Do you happen to know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know the time she was born and everything about her. She's a Libra sun, Leo rising, and Scorpio moon. She's
Ooh,
very interesting placements. Total theater kid, which makes complete sense. But I'm not sure where her progressed moon is. I know mine is going into Cancer. So let me ask you a question. So, for example, let's take me based on the fact that my progressed moon is going into Cancer in 11 months, what can that tell me about what might be to come or things that I should be focused on since that progressed moon is changing?
yeah. It's almost like you don't have to change your focus because it's just going to happen naturally, right? So as you move towards the end of your Gemini cycle, you're going to start to feel the influence of Cancer coming in. You're going to feel the slowing down of life. You're going to feel yourself moving from your head, busy, busy Gemini, dropping into your heart when Cancer arrives. Cancer is a water sign, it's emotional, it's about the feelings. As you're out being busy now and multitasking and meeting up with all the people and doing all the things right now, maybe too many things, you're going to feel this relief of relaxing and being home when you move into your Cancer cycle. So it is a 2.5 year cycle of um, domesticity, being in the home space, creating beautiful home space for yourself. People oftentimes find the perfect home for themselves in their Cancer cycle, or make changes to the home, renovations to the home. They could buy and sell real estate during their Cancer progressed moon cycle. I bought my very first house during my Cancer progressed moon cycle, so it was like right on point, right? And the focus now becomes the internal world, home base, and your inner circle, your family. Right now in Gemini, it's busyness and it's all the frenetic things you're doing. And then when you move into Cancer, it's like landing back at home and beautifying your home space and creating a really sacred sanctuary out of the home and being close to your people, like your inner circle.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to that. So I hear that based off of our progressed moon, we can really kind of make understandings of I'm on the right path, or maybe I should wait to make this decision in the next couple months when I am in a different cycle, or maybe things will start slowing down. And I almost kind of hear it can be, you can almost kind of predict what that energy will look like for you.
Yeah. It's called predictive astrology, and it really is like a map for yourself. seeing what's coming in next, knowing the tone or the energetic of what you will be stepping into coming in next. And little fun fact, your progressed moon, when it moves into Cancer, 3 months into Cancer, it's going to be right on top of your descendant, which we said was the relationship point. So I wouldn't be surprised if something starts swirling or developing or deepening right around that time.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope you're right. Deborah said the same thing when I did a
Oh, did she?
astrology reading with her. She
Uh-huh.
said around like June, July next year, you
Yes.
might have some kind of relationship. So I bet
Yes.
you she was talking about that.
I wonder. I
Listen,
bet
I'm going to
so.
send this to her and I'm going to send this to you if I end up finding a man, because
Yep.
Lord knows, like, universe, send me somebody, please. So, okay, lunar eclipse season. So we are in these eclipse phases. We always hear about the moon and the eclipse and how it can affect our energy. Is that true? And if so, how can we use the eclipse energy to navigate our life?
Beautiful. So, right at this exact moment that we are speaking, we are right in between eclipses. We had one in September. We have the next one coming up next week, October 2nd. And when we're stuck, that's not a very kind word, but when we are placed in between eclipses, there is a heightened sensitivity to us, to humans as individuals. We're running at a higher voltage, and with eclipses things come in quickly and suddenly, and eclipses are here to grow us. It's a fast forwarded, very progressive sort of movement. So thinking of what came in 3 weeks ago during the last eclipse, right? That was chapter 1 of your eclipse story. And then chapter 2 will come in around October 2nd, the second eclipse. And whatever is in the forefront of your life right now during these eclipses is really here to grow you. And it could be sudden events, shocking events, things you didn't even know you needed, right? And they can throw us off a little bit because it is such a heightened energetic that we're moving with, and it's really helpful to see in your chart. We can plug in those eclipses and see what area of life is being affected by them. So using your chart as an example, our next eclipse lands in Libra, and Libra is in your ninth house. And oh my gosh, it lands right on top of your Venus. So here's another relationship thing for you coming in. And so this
Let's go.
eclipse, I know, this eclipse could really ignite the heart connection, bring somebody in quickly and suddenly and unexpectedly. And it's in the ninth house of expansion and growth and this feeling of the sky is the limit for you, right? It's different for everybody depending on where it lands in the chart. And so we can see with these eclipses coming in what could be surfacing. So for you, it's the story of, wow, somebody could be coming in really quick out of the blue when you least expect it. It's like you're in the grocery store and you turn into another aisle and you crash into somebody with your cart, and it's like the love of your
Like a
life.
love story.
Yes.
Malika, I've
Yes.
been single for like it is embarrassing. I've been single since 2014, and
That's okay.
I haven't had a date in like 3.5 years, like literally nothing. But I'm okay. Like, I do not want to bring someone in unless it is completely in alignment, because where I'm at, and like I'm not saying astrology is like end all be all, but let me tell you something. If you're a Virgo and you got like Virgo in your chart, I'm not messing with it. No offense to you Virgos out there. So I'm very picky. So what type of sign does it matter? So, for example, knowing I'm a Libra, knowing I have some Capricorn and some Scorpio in my chart, are there certain signs that just do not synchronize together, that don't do well together?
Yeah. I mean, there are, but then you go deeper into the chart and you can find pieces that do then sync, right? But if we're just talking sun sign astrology, with Libras, for example, Capricorn energy might be a little bit harder for you, But then again, you have a lot of Capricorn, right? So it's like we have to look a little bit deeper. So I think for you, the other water signs, you have so much Scorpio in you and so many Scorpio signatures. Can I just speak to the Scorpio signatures for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
You have Pluto on top of your Libra sun, which is almost like a Scorpio sun in disguise. And you have Neptune on top of your rising sign, which is a Pisces signature, which is more water. So you have so much water in your chart that I think another water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, would really feel very delicious to you.
Ooh,
You know, yeah,
okay.
very delicious to you, very soothing to you. Like, here is a soul who also has depth, who can meet me where I'm at. So you got to just look deeper into the chart than just the sun sign, you know, and sometimes even more than your top three. Like you said, if you have a ton of Virgo in your chart, no offense, but see ya. However, you might have the best sex of your life with a Virgo because you have Mars in Virgo. Did you ever think
What?
about that? Yes.
No.
Yes.
Like, I can't even imagine I think of a Virgo being like so analytical in the bedroom that it would just be so boring.
Mhm. However, you have Mars, the sexual energy planet in Virgo. And so
Wow.
taking them to the bedroom might be where you finally connect with them.
Wow. And
Just
I'm
saying.
not to get into TMI, but I think I do all right in that department. So that's really surprising to me.
Isn't
Wow.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And this happens
Okay.
when you unfold the layers and look just a little bit deeper. So don't be so quick to shut the door on Virgo. You might not get along with them like in conversation or on their viewpoints, but you take them to the bedroom and that's where you might understand them.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? To everybody listening, don't judge a book by its cover, I guess, right? Let's do some fun stuff. So why don't we look at some really interesting charts? So I was thinking, listen, I'm not a Trumper. No judgment to anyone who is, but he's got a crazy interesting personality, or maybe even Taylor Swift, because everyone loves some Taylor. So why don't we just look at their chart? And if you didn't know them, what could you tell about their chart, and what can we expect from that?
I love this. Okay, I want to start with Taylor. Let me pull up her chart here. So I found it and I pulled it up. So remember, we were talking about the big three, like the three main pillars that make up a person. So we have our darling Taylor, who is a Sagittarius, and we can feel that fire in her. Like she's the performer, she's the one who is sort of like a fire starter and gets like emotions moving within other people, you know, the excitement, the inspiration, the motivation with her Sagittarius sun. Then you go over to her moon, her inner world, her emotional body. Her moon is in Cancer. And this is why, doesn't it make sense? This is why most of her songs are about her exes. Because in Cancer, we are very linked to the past. We are very linked to nostalgia. We're very linked to what happened back when. And we have a hard time letting go of people who were once in our life who are no longer in our life. So you can hear like in her music she sings a lot about, you know, her experience with her past relationships. That is such a moon in Cancer medicine or therapy. She's like doing therapy lifetime for all of us through her songs, you know, that moon in Cancer. And then her rising sign is
Is she an
Scorpio.
air? Oh, she's a Scorpio.
Yes, a Scorpio rising. And so
Interesting.
she presents very scorpionic too, which is why she just has like the depth and the richness in her lyrics and just a little bit of a sting, you know, that comes out in her as well. And so she is fire with double water. And so there's so much depth here, so much passion here. And then she has so many planets in Capricorn. Listen to this. One, two, three, four planets in Capricorn. So there's her work ethic and this ability to keep going and climbing the mountains and then reaching for the next tallest mountain. Um, you know, her Sagittarius wants to play, but all her Capricorn says, but we have to make sure we're working hard too, you know? And so it gives such tenacity and energy and discipline and drive and focus within this chart. Really interesting to see.
I can see that. Yeah, I can definitely see that being part of who she is. And um, does she have any air in her chart?
She has Venus in air. So her Venus, the way she does relationships, is in Aquarius. So she's a little bit, she can be a little bit awkward in relationship, or sort of like the odd duck in relationship. She just has to do it in her very own way. Like she cannot follow the relationship rule book, for example. You know, Venus in Aquarius says, I am different and I attract in people in relationship who stand out a little bit and who are also different, you know? So that's where her air is. That's where her air comes in. Venus and
Interesting.
Aquarius. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's look at Mr. Trump. He's got to be, there's no way that he's not a fire sign. Like he's got to be
Yeah.
either fire or air.
Have you never looked at his chart?
I've never looked at his chart.
Okay, this is super exciting. Oh my God, this is super exciting. Okay. So, and we're looking at this chart because he is an intriguing personality, right? And so let's dive in and see like what he's actually all about. So his sun sign is Gemini. So you can see that he's really good but also funny with his words,
Yeah,
you
he's all
know?
over the place.
He's all over the
He's
place.
all over.
He has Uranus on top of that sun sign. So that is where, like you called it, he's all over the place with his words. He says weird shit out of nowhere, right? That's Uranian energy. It's just he has absolutely no filter. He's erratic in the way he moves and talks and speaks, and we don't know what he's going to say next. That is Uranus on top of his sun, his Gemini sun. Then his moon sign is Sagittarius. So now we have the fiery emotions, right? He can get triggered, he can get reactionary, he can be emotionally impulsive. Whatever he's feeling in that moment, he reacts to without much thought. His emotional body is in a fire sign. And Gemini sun, Sagittarius moon, he's also a full moon baby. So he was born during a full moon. So he carries this big, exuberant, energetic about him. With full moon babies, we notice them when they walk into a room, right? And so he has this powerful full moon presence where he's just noticeable. His energetic he carries, we look up when he enters a room, you know?
He's got to have some Leo or Aries in that chart.
You just nailed it.
It's like it's somewhere.
His rising sign is Leo.
I knew it.
And he has Mars right on top of that rising sign, which is the Aries signature.
Oh, oh God. But
Yeah.
I don't want to say this makes me empathize with him, but
Mhm.
this is just who he is. It is
Yeah.
his character. I mean,
Yes.
oh my God, listen, my daughters are rising Leo, but she's more of the
Mhm.
theatrical
Mhm.
theater, but not
Yeah.
like aggressively because she's a Libra.
Yeah.
But he is just, let's fight the good fight. And he likes
That's
it.
Mars. That's Mars, right? Mars is the fighter and the warrior. And he already has a fire rising sign, which is Leo. He purrs when he's happy. He roars when he's pissed, like think Leo the lion, right? And then you put the fighter and the warrior on top of that personality type with Mars on top of it. And now we have the fighter, the one who is like not holding back. He can be very reactionary, very blunt, ready to fight, ready to like bring on the challenge. He could be very head buddy, always feeling like he's in competition, right? And he shows up like that. Like his chart is so him, it's ridiculous. When I opened it up and I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
That's so what's at his 12 o'clock? So the ascendant, right? Is that the ascendant?
Taurus. Hmm.
Taurus. Okay.
Midheaven.
His
So he
midheaven.
has his midheaven at 12 o'clock in Taurus. So that has to do with his profession and his career, right? So very Taurian. He moves slowly and steadily. He does tend to be very like grounded in his career, very Taurus. So fixed, stubborn. No one can tell him what to do in his career or profession. He has his mind made up. No one is going to sway him otherwise. Taurus is a fixed sign, right? Picture like the bull. The bull is ruled by Taurus. Picture a bull in a field. He is standing so solid. He is heavy. It's hard to push that bull over. There's resistance there. So he can be quite resistant and fixed and stubborn. but also slow and steady, wins the race. And money, 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 money with Taurus and career. So very money driven would also come in with Taurus up there. Um, yeah, I mean, he is his chart to a T.
It's so interesting. I mean, and I think what's interesting about these things is, and I would actually like you to touch on this. So when you say fixed, so fixed versus what? Like, what does that mean? What can that tell you about someone?
Yeah. So those are the modes. There's three different modes in astrology. So the fixed signs, which is, let's see if I can do this really quick, which is Taurus and Scorpio, Leo and Aquarius are the fixed signs. These are the ones who are super solid. We can lean in on them. We can depend on them. They are reliable. When they say something, they tend to follow through. And they're so fixed that they could be stubborn. They could be rigid. They don't change. They're scared of change. They stay way past the expiration date in jobs and relationships because that change is scary for them. They're fixed, they're solid. Then we have the second mode, which is, let's do mutable, which is Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. These are our very versatile people. They can change at the drop of a hat. They could, you can change plans on them and they'll be like, okay, cool, we're down. There isn't that rigidity. They're mutable, they move, they go with the flow. And because of that, they're also scattered. They're non-committal. They have one opinion and then half an hour they'll turn around and they do a complete 180 with their opinion. Um, and then we have the cardinal signs, which is you. You have a lot of cardinal energy, and that is Aries and Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. And these are the ones who are the initiators, the bosses. They're the ones who start things, get up and go. They have the drive, they have the tenacity. They tend to be the leaders of the group, but they can also be overdoing that, right? An overuse of power, being too blunt, bossing everybody else around. Um, so those are the three modes: cardinal, mutable, and fixed.
Interesting. And I think it's interesting to know too, if there's like rigidity in somebody's chart and there's a lot of it, they may not change. They may not want to change. And there might be certain aspects about who they are that won't change. And I think that that's really important, especially for someone else, like if it's a relationship or a friendship, to maybe ask yourself, where do I need to radically accept? Right? Like, is this something that is this in alignment with me? If I can't radically accept, then maybe this is not in alignment. And I think that's so fascinating to be able to see that in someone's chart and to be able to understand, like, okay, it's not a me thing. It's not personal. Maybe this is just who they are in relationships. Any,
Totally. Yeah.
any predictions? So, for example, if you're looking at the chart, maybe in the next 6 to 12 months
hmm
for humanity,
hmm
what are some things that we can see based on astrology that might kind of give us an idea of what type of energy we might be working with?
hmm So one of the big things in 2025 is we have Neptune, who has been in Pisces for what feels like forever. Neptune is a very slow moving planet. It's one of the outer planets. He will be moving into Aries in 2025. And that is a huge shift. And it's almost this feeling of humanity, the collective, is waking up from this many year dream or sleep that we've been in, and we sort of feel our fire coming back. We can feel the veil or the wool lifting, right? And so we can start to see things a little more clearly now. So there might be a lot of aha moments or things coming to the surface that were maybe hidden from us before, or not in the light before. And now they're sort of revealed in 2025, and we're starting to see things a little bit more clearly. It's sort of like we've been drinking the Kool-Aid or this juice that has just made us really sleepy and a little bit unaware and a little bit dreamy and foggy. And when that Neptune moves into this bright, vital, passionate, robust, fiery sign of Aries, it suddenly has this ability to stretch, yawn, wake up, and get out of bed finally.
Hmm.
And we'll
And
feel that as a collective.
I wonder what that would look like for us because we've had so much, I don't even want to call it conflicts, right? We've had genocides, we've had um politics that are crazy. We've had these crazy elections. We've had so much going on with Ukraine and Russia and Palestine, and just the world feels like it's in chaos right now. And my worry is seeing Aries energy. My mind goes straight to like, oh shit, World War III, right? I hope for us that means that more people start waking up and not really adhering to, what the media tells us. And,
Yes, that's exactly it, Grace. Yeah, that's
yeah.
exactly it. It's like we finally put the Kool-Aid down, and now we're drinking crisp, clean, clear water, and we're sort of getting our wits about us again and finding our own information, not the information that's been fed to us that we've sleepily been ingesting, right? It's sort of like, okay, we're drinking from the crisp, clear, cool fountain of water again, and we're just the veil is being lifted a little bit more, and we're able to see clearly and act more clearly too.
I love that. What advice do you have for anybody listening who is, maybe starting to dabble in astrology? What would you tell them, and what do they need to know in order to be able to take that next step in their journey?
Yeah, I just think it is such a beautiful tool to understand our relationship between the planets and us humans down here. It really, for me, is this idea, as above, so below, like this vast, vast universe. We are also connected. There's no way in my mind that what the planets are doing above doesn't affect us. That is just ludicrous to me, that idea, because I feel it so deeply, so strongly, and to be able to have an understanding of how this giant clock in the sky is working and how to best work with it, is just such a beautiful gift you can give yourself. And even, where the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. And let's say the moon is in Cancer, which will put a vibe down on us here in Earth School of, being cozy that day, staying home and cooking a meal that day, calling your family that day, taking a nap that day, like just being chill that day. That's where you're going to be in flow. But if you don't know that, and you've planned yourself a day of pushing and challenges and trying to meet the end goal and turning things in and working really hard, you're going to feel a little bit wonky, a little bit clunky, you're a little bit out of flow, So if you can read this giant clock in the sky, it just serves you so well for having a little bit of an easier time here on earth, because now we're connected to the greater unknown, to the cosmos, and now we can dance a little bit easier. It's hard down here in earth school, right? It's hard for some people, and the gift of astrology just allows you to have an understanding of the energetic you're in, the energetic that's coming, and how the dance steps you're supposed to be taking at this time.
Hmm. I feel like it's almost, you have to have a time to know what time to go to bed, right? You have to
Hmm.
have a time of knowing what time to wake up, and
Hmm.
we depend on those things to
Yeah.
function. How
Yeah.
amazing would it be if we knew what energy to work with every day? And we
Totally.
can.
It's like knowing the weather forecast. Like, you put on your bathing suit, you're going to go have a beach day. You didn't check the weather forecast, and it's pouring rain outside. But if you would have checked the weather forecast, you would have changed your plans to be more in flow with the energetic of what's happening.
I love that. It's like the weather. So, for those of you listening, go check and see what energy you're working with for the day. And if you want to know more about your astrology chart, hit up Malika. She will do your astrology, tell you what sign you're in, and all about your chart. And as you guys can see, it's not just so simple as knowing your sun sign. Malika, thank you so much for what you do and for taking the time to come on the show, and also for all the education that you do, because what you do is so important and you're such a great teacher. I learned so much from you. And so I'm so humbled, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Carice.